I think we're good to go. Yeah. Just you know, working, getting ready for summer vacation.
When?
Yeah. Well, school. I forget what day it is, but you know, I think it's like 2 weeks from now, something like that. So.
Any plans?
Yeah. Well, we're doing a whole bunch of trips actually. We're doing this weekend. We're going to do an onsen run. We're headed up to Toyama the week after next.
Mm-hmm.
It was in 3 weeks. And then we're going to do a camping trip at the beginning of August. So that should be fun.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Going to where? Camping?
Just nearby. Just it's like a local mountain place that has cottages and fire pits and stuff like that. The boys want to roast some marshmallows. So
it's not really like going in the tent, but it's like in the
something a little easier with the kids and whatnot. So.
Yeah, I don't know. It can be fun in the tent.
Yeah, true. I think they're mostly just going to play in the river and roast some marshmallows anyway, so we'll have them covered as far as that goes. Are you you're in a car? It looks like, huh?
Yeah, I'm in Pakistan. We're doing laundry.
Okay. Gotcha. Ato says he's on the Hangout.
I don't see him.
Is he on a different Hangout?
Maybe. That's strange. This is the URL.
There it is. Did I maybe mess something up?
No.
Okay. Yeah, it looks like the right link. Hey, there you are.
Hi.
Hi.
I thought maybe I messed up the links on you. I don't have that automated, so I always worry that I'm going to copy and paste the wrong link somewhere.
There was one in the notes, but that's okay.
Oh, was the notes the bad one?
Yeah, there was okay. But it is only in hyphen.
Okay.
That's okay. That was easy to figure out.
Good. Yeah, I should really like build a script or something. I don't know. Maybe after we get AWS working. But yeah, there's all these little pieces. Like you have to click your way through the Hangout, but then the Hangout doesn't make it easy. Or you schedule the event, but then from the event page, there's no easy link to get into the Hangout. So I have to make a Hangout link and then put that as a comment on the event. Like the only way to get the Hangout link is if you mark yourself as attending, and then the calendar entry has it.
That's great.
But like if you just happen to come to the page and like you're not marked as an attendee or whatever, then it's like really not obvious how to get into the Hangout. So, which is, I don't know why they do that, but yeah, the default flow, everything just points you towards watching on YouTube.
Hi,
Hello, Joe.
Good morning.
Good
morning.
So, I'd say that's probably close enough to critical mass. What do we got going on here? We got I wonder if Benjamin's coming. Let me ping Benjamin. It would be good to have.
Are we all in Japan? Looks like.
Yeah, we are. Benjamin's Tokyo too, so.
Rob, are you driving?
Parking lot.
Oh.
Parking lot. I'm not driving. That would be bad.
You said you're at the laundromat?
Yeah, close by.
Yeah, but Kitty comes too.
Kitty always comes, so.
Kitty always comes. That's great.
He's always with us. So.
And looks like no reply from Benjamin, so let's just carry on.
Well, it's not very related to the API stuff, but I had a good trip day before yesterday. We went up and fixed a bunch of the point-cast sensors.
Oh yeah? Was it hardware problems?
Say again?
Was it hardware problems? What was the fix?
Yeah, they were all hardware. Well, kind of. One of them had a bad connection. Actually, they both had bad connections. One because an RJ45 connector had corroded, and the other one because somebody had unplugged it.
That's
Do it,
a
no?
bummer. Just unintentionally, I guess.
No idea. The guy there didn't know it had been unplugged and couldn't say why it had been unplugged. It was
Interesting.
there were two green wires on the router, and one of them went to a system that they had moved or were taking out, and I think they pulled the wrong green wire off.
Gotcha. Yeah, I could see that. Cool. Well, good to get them fixed up.
I had a reporter with me from the LA Times, a former page one editor, and she's
cool.
worried about it.
Do we have a few less offline real-time sensors now that that's fixed up, I guess?
Yeah. Actually, I don't think there are any up in the zone that are offline now.
No, they're all online.
Nice.
In Chiba, there's one offline.
That's because and there's nothing. I barely have an internet connection.
Is that your house? Is that one?
Yeah. So I'm gonna reinstall. I'm gonna put a point cast in, but it'll be a little bit different place, and I gotta get a wire over to it somehow.
Gotcha. Yeah, it looks like most of our offline ones are NRDC.
We are working on that.
Cool. That's exciting.
Okay.
And we'll do what we can to try to avoid knocking them offline via API updates at this point, now that we have a better sense of where the data is coming from.
That would be useful.
Yeah.
I was completely swamped with emails.
Yeah,
There's Nick.
Hey, Nick. Let me get my chat open, since that's probably where Nick is going to be responding. Fantastic. Cool. Yeah, so we had a lot of interesting developments over the past month. It was actually the most time that I have spent in a month on Safecast so far. I think it was like 20 hours or something like that of, fixing up PRs and getting things deployed and attempting to get us onto AWS. But
I also moved domain hosts because my email was down for like 2 weeks. I noticed as soon as it came back up that the email messages were different, that they were a full page instead of just a link. So that was really good development. There's a lot of information in the notifications now.
Email host, then that's Benjamin. Yeah. So yeah, Benjamin's doing that. We also have the new KML feature thanks to Eto. We have the reject button, and then I think we also have the comment field now, so that a moderator can send comments back to an uploader.
Yeah, I saw the comment field. Didn't realize it was new. I couldn't. Yeah, that's what's the. Is there a hover notification that tells you what it's for? Because
maybe not so much.
Whatever. And
yeah, we got a whole bunch of developers and hardware geeks here. Not a whole lot of UI.
But maybe we can make a tooltip on it.
Yeah,
that's actually a tooltip. You want to have a tooltip. You hover over with a mouse pointer. It'll tell you what it's for.
Yeah, or at least some descriptive text above the box. Now that I looked at it, it does say send email to uploader, but maybe some sort of description. Type a message here if you believe there's something wrong.
For everyone?
Moderators only.
Okay, good. So okay. The other one is the drive type appeared as a drop down, and the very first time I uploaded, after that appeared, I uploaded like 2 or 3 drives and marked them as Surface, because I was thinking versus Cosmic.
Yeah, and we do have, I think that one has a tooltip, but it might not be as obvious.
Well, Surface was the default, or was first. It said select type and a Surface, a Cosmic. Oh, Surface. And then I scroll down a little further if you're on a small screen. It's drive. And then when I noticed there was some noise in the Slack channel about people are marking things as Surface when they shouldn't be. Okay, that was me. So if I'm doing it, you can bet that
other
some
people are probably going to do it too.
Experienced, people are also.
Yeah, confused. For sure. I thought the default should be drive though, but we have a ticket open to add some more descriptive text to the type of measurement. Yeah, there's a mouse over. If you mouse over the label, if you mouse over the type of measurement label, there's a tooltip that says was the data collected while on a flight. But I still feel like that's probably, first off, there's no real indicator that you should even mouse over it, and then second off, it doesn't really
There should be some descriptions.
Yeah. I think we have a ticket open about that,
You can have
actually.
it add in the database surface, cosmic, and drive, but the labels and the drop-downs could be surface, parentheses, collected very close to the ground with beta included. Cosmic, on an airplane flight or not, at high altitude. And then drive, standard BGAI upload.
Yep, we do. I actually just bumped that right up to the top of the ready pile, so hopefully that'll be the next thing we pick up. Yeah, I think we have drive, and then in parentheses it'll be car, bike, walk, boat, terrestrial.
Excellent. Yeah.
Basically, Peter had some.
So I'm just
example text that we could probably use here. I'll put the link in the chat in case you want to see.
We're just redoing the same stuff we've already solved, just haven't gotten to.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's in the comments, so we just need to add it.
Made good use of the drive display feature on TileMap. I sent the links to the LA Times reporter that way rather than the link to the API page of the drive upload, because it's more, I don't know, click pastable and shareable that way than it is on the the drive page. Has got all kinds of weird fields and stuff around it, and in my opinion, if you were to put that on a New York Times website, it would just invite all kinds of people to come in and click on the fields and edit.
Probably would start browsing around, and I think we also have part of the plan was to start using that same JavaScript on the drive page as well, so to get out of even having two maps and just using the one map. Because that tile map render seems pretty solid. Most of the time when we're sending links around, we tend to send that around. Where was it?
Are we working? Is there any plan to modify that page further, or the upload process, the workflow?
The one I just pasted, the 197, is the plan to replace the current map with the new map.
Yeah, but replacing the map doesn't change the workflow.
No. Yeah, I don't think we have anything particularly in flight. I don't know. I mean, from what I've been observing anyway, I don't think anyone's really looking at this from like a workflow perspective. I haven't found anyone quite yet. I've been like fishing for people who might be interested in coming into the project as essentially like a UI UX designer, but I haven't had any hits yet. So.
Okay. The reason is when I show people how to do uploads, and when I do uploads myself, I always open two windows for the same drive.
Interesting.
So, and that's because. Do
you want to do like a screencast of that so we can see what's going on?
Well, I want to be able to when I'm typing in the cities form, I want to see what cities I went through. Now, sometimes you're looking at sometimes you're doing a short drive and you just go from here to the market and you come back and you've got 1,000 data points and you know it's all in Ichikawa.
Yep.
No problem. But for a drive like on Monday, 11,000 data points. I started in at home, picked up somebody in Matsudo, drove up the Joban for 180 kilometers, went to Iwaki, then we went to the seaside, and basically I went through 24 jurisdictions, if you were the town and village level, and I want to zoom back on the map and see, okay, I'm going to put in like 6 of them, the ones that are the biggest or the most pertinent to the trip. Because if I just put every town that I happen to pass through on the highway, it might be technically relevant, but...
yeah, I don't know if it's going to be that useful anyway, right? I think a lot of those city markers come down to, at a glance when you're viewing a drive, what area is this drive associated with, right? Like, I don't think we're doing any sort of programmatic or anything anyway.
Searchable at some point where you could say, show me all the drives that passed through, Iwaki.
Yeah.
And then you could get a list of them to load up the raw data on the tile map and of those drives, especially for places that are not so often visited. There are places like Hida and whatnot that we've only been to. There's only 2 or 3 drives to that whole city.
Yeah.
So obviously, if you did, Futaba, you'd get 100 drives. But
yeah, I kind of wonder also if it's worth like rethinking, because that field is very freeform, right? And so like I might put in Kasamatsu, whereas like someone else might put in Gifu, even though it's actually the same area. It makes me wonder if we did want to get into that sort of thing, if we should kind of tackle it a little bit differently, where like we don't necessarily say like you know, and I'm just kind of thinking out loud here, but we don't necessarily have someone like type in the cities. We know because the points are geolocated, and so if someone's looking for Ishikawa, they should be able to type in Ishikawa into some field, have a, you know, go out to Google Maps, get the lat longs for that, and then go get the points that are in that lat long, you know.
Long ago, I requested that field be sort of auto-populated.
Yeah, or something.
You know, because sometimes you want to change it from, you know, I don't know, from say Odaka to Minamisoma to Fukushima. Because one is the village level, and one is the municipal level, and one is the prefectural level.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know, people outside Japan would like to have it be Japan. And all of that should be sort of there. But as it is, it's just a comma-delimited list of listed as cities, which is itself a nebulous concept in Japan.
Yeah. And not even necessarily comma delimited, right? Like I think it's because it's just a free text field. There's no telling.
You know, do you put Tokyo? Do you put Shibuya? Do you put
yeah, exactly. And so that's why I was thinking, if we want to get serious about it, like we should probably do something that's a little more lat long focused. So, you know,
I don't think actually. I think it's become less important. That's probably why it doesn't have priority, because the trend has been toward the maps and doing things visually and graphically, and you don't search on the database fields of that field. You do a search on, essentially a Google search for that address, and the map zooms into there, which works out better anyway.
Yeah.
And but that's not finding the drives, that's finding the data points.
That's finding the measurements, right? And so that gets back to something that we talk about every once in a while, which is getting something that would get you from a measurement back to a drive, which we don't really have. We don't have, like, we can make that link, but I don't think we have any sort of UI or anything like that that'll do it right now.
I do it manually. When I'm looking at an aberrant data point, there's a spike sticking up or something, I hover over it, I get the date, and then I do a search on the list of log files around that date until I find, you know, one that looks likely, then I open them up until I find that data point, which is not...
Yeah, and that's a shame, because we could definitely do, like, even via the MD5s, we should be able to get you closer than that.
Yeah, and for the other one is for the first 3.5 million data points, we don't have drives anymore.
Oh, yeah.
They're just somewhere, and some of them, you know, Colin has brought this up a couple times. I went through, when we first did the migration to the current database form, and re-uploaded a bunch of those files. And what happened, at least at that point, and I don't think the API will still do this, is it created the original file, became available for download, but no data points were added to the database.
Okay.
It looks at the file, it says, you know, 1,100 lines, 11,000 data points, number of points added, 0. Which is perfect, because it means that the deduplication, you know, algorithm is working, and but now the drive file has become associated, and the drive file is available for download. It has a number, but that didn't happen for all of the first 350 million. There's some that we lost the files for, some that I never had because I wasn't involved in them, or somehow didn't get into our backups of those files.
350 million measurements, you mean?
3.5 million measurements.
Oh, for 3.5 million. I was about to say 350. Like, that's a lot of data.
About 350 drives.
Okay, it's about 350 drives. About 3 million or so measurements. It sounds like 3.5 million measurements.
Yeah, a drive, especially back then when we were starting in Tokyo, driving up to Fukushima, driving around and coming back, is about 10,000 points.
Yeah.
That was a typical day.
Gotcha.
And this drive today, or this last week, was really close to one of the original drives. I mean, it was up the Joban, across the area, and over to Koriyama, and then back down south. So, you know, I keep thinking I want to find one of the really early files where we followed the same path and do a side-by-side, because I know there was one point where it was at least 30 microsieverts an hour, where it's now 5. So, and some places even lower. And that contrast is something that almost everyone is interested in seeing. You know, you're driving right on Route 6, right up in front of Daiichi. You know, it was 30, 35 microsieverts an hour, and now it's 3 to 5. And that's what a lot of people want to see.
Yeah, for sure. That's a big drop.
That's because they remove everything?
Why did it go down?
Yeah. You remove
both natural and artificial remediation. Which has a bigger effect? It's hard to say. You know, they've decontaminated that area several times, but I think natural weathering has had a bigger effect. I mean, there's also places where they're just doing repaving because, you know, infrastructure needs to be redone and the road gets potholes and they put new pavement down. It's really effective.
Yeah, cover it up.
Put some concrete between. Do you have a link to the recent drive that you did, Joe?
Yes. In fact, I just mailed it to someone. Let me paste it in here.
Because that might be an interesting starting point, right? Is essentially, as a development task, what would it take to get from your new drive to a previous drive from that same area?
The drive file or the link I sent, like on the tile map.
Yeah, the link to the tile map would be fine because that'd have the drive ID. I think that would be the most useful because then that'll let us get to the raw file and all the metadata and everything like that.
So. Okay, the drive ID is 23878.
Yeah. Well, do you have a link? Do you want to just throw it in the chat there?
And paste it in, yeah. Come on, Control C.
Because that might be a good thing to investigate, even from like a UI perspective of like, given this new link, what does it take to get an older drive in the same area?
Yeah, let me see if let me get the link on the one I sent on the tile map too. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, at least from this, we know pretty much what the tile map is going to be.
Oh, where'd it go? That's weird. That's looking my system.
I always forget that. Oh, there it is. Log IDs.
There we go. I think it's not 11,000 data points or something. A really annoying gap in right in the zone. My battery died on my Geigy just as we were passing from Okuma to Namie. I noticed pretty soon, but it's about 5 minutes. And
Joe, you should take a Cradle for it. Because the wireless charging by your using.
Couldn't understand what?
Wireless charging. Make a wireless charging in it so you can do it with the Geigy and still get charged while you're driving.
I can't understand you, Rob. Sorry.
To make it wireless charging. You're not using wireless charging for your.
No, I can't use. Not wireless charging on the Nano.
Yeah.
On the car, I guess I could, but I've got a big battery. I just hadn't charged it. I thought it would run long enough, but I had the Bluetooth in it, and that made it shorter. And you know, and actually, the biggest problem was that I had 40% battery, and it stops at like 15%. At 15%, it says it's too low to record.
Yeah.
So I did. I connected I actually put a wire on it since it wasn't raining. It just left the Geigy kind of slightly open and ran a wire to it and charged it and ran it the rest of the day. It was fine, but it was right when we were going to the church in Namie. So yeah, on Route 6, it would have been. It wasn't a big enough gap to be worth going back, and we were already late getting to Ito-san's. So.
I see. There's a little. That's the gap right here. Huh? Yeah.
And I'll be back there soon because I headed across Route, was it 235 there, and it was open, and that's the biggest hole in the data in the high contamination zone. And I really need to go up that road and see how far I can go because nobody's done that road yet because it's always been either closed off, restricted, snowed in, or even when I had a permit, they said, no, you can't go that way. And it's like, why? Because we've got someplace else to be. Okay, fine. So, and it was really tempting, like, oh, oh, do we carry on our mission going over Edosons, or do we find out how far this road goes, now? And that I'll just have to go back up there soon and see if I can get that road, because it goes right through the middle of the plume. And if you look on the data set, the tile map with all the data turned on, very clear which road that is. It's the biggest gap up there. On my Google Maps, there's stars on both sides of it. Go here, and every time.
Nice. That actually got me to something I was thinking. So last weekend we did a trip to Biwako, and I found myself basically like looking for spots that weren't covered. And I was thinking like that could be a really neat future feature. Like I'm planning on going here to here. Like, what are some routes that I should follow to try to fill in the map?
I've talked about this with Nick before, and he actually made a special version at one point of the app or the maps. I could do what's called drive targeting. But now I don't look so much for areas that aren't covered at all, as much as now I'm looking for areas that haven't been covered recently.
Yeah.
There's a lot of areas up there that we've done. Haven't been done in a couple of years, and it's starting to be okay. If it hasn't been done or has been done or only been done once, then I want to go there. But yeah, it's certainly a virgin territory is getting rare up in, especially up in Fukushima.
Certainly in that area, yeah. And even I was impressed. Even like a whole bunch of Nagoya was covered too.
Well, yeah, a lot of the stuff done by Global Survey Corp. So the worst thing is there are holes in the map that I have done. And I haven't uploaded.
I see.
I have to go find those files.
So you have old files.
Hundreds and hundreds of files, and I don't have an easy way to sort out which ones I've uploaded, which ones I haven't. Because sometimes I come back after a 3-day trip, and it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. I'll upload that in the morning, and something calls. I never get to it, and those I don't have any way to sort through those except to. The only way I can think of is just get all my files, start uploading them, and hope I come across the dozen or so that say, oh, doesn't exist.
But, Joe, can you put them all in an Excel sheet?
I don't understand. How would I put them on an Excel sheet?
No, all the let's say, naming of the drives, because we upload them to S3, and we can compare them if they're already on S3. And if they're not on S3, then probably you didn't upload them.
What do I have to do?
If we have a list of all the file names, we can at least compare that against what's on S3, and that'll tell you what's uploaded and what hasn't been.
Actually, this is especially problematic. One of the files I uploaded yesterday was called 20250704.log.
Might be good to put that in the chat. Make sure we don't typo.
Because 2025 is my BGEIGE, right? And some of the data was from 2014, and some of it was from 2016.
Yeah, the same number. That's
correct. The same file name because the file we don't have enough.
The file name is just a little bit too short to handle it.
Well, no, the libraries that are available on the Arduino that we can fit in there only support 8+3 file names. So we chose to, especially at first, the month and the day was enough, but not having the year in there. So I sort my files into folders, 2014, and then in the folder there's a July 7th or July 4th. But this time I actually hadn't uploaded that file. It was a fairly short file, maybe a couple thousand points. And so when I turned on my BGEIGE on Monday, it just appended to that file.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah.
So the data wasn't lost, but what I did was I split the file, and I made one of them. On my computer I can make the file name as long as I want. But we need to look into like a tool for that to help with editing the files that way. I don't know what additional tools we can do for that. We're sort of going toward using the Bluetooth and uploading via the apps on.
Yeah, true.
So, my problem is kind of a personal. Maybe it's unique to me, or maybe it's not. Do a lot of people have a lot of files that they have to sort through to know if it's been uploaded or not? At one point, there was a claim we were going to make a batch upload where you could just give it the API an entire folder. But in my case, that would be hundreds, potentially 1,000 files.
Yeah, I mean, we could write some scripts that'll run through that as well. I guess the question is, are you unique in that need, or how many people are interested in that?
Well, when I mentioned this at one of the meetings, Joy said, yeah, he's got a bunch of files that he's uploaded and some that he hasn't too. But I suspect he has the same problem, just on a smaller scale.
Mm.
And Peter is okay. Peter has a lot of files too. No?
Peter is really diligent about uploading his files. So because he almost always records them and wants them on the database, so I don't think he has that problem.
Yeah. Now, did you say when you uploaded, so it happened to have, so you had a file name collision, and then when you uploaded to the API, you said it appended to the drive?
No, the API doesn't append it. The bGeigie.
Oh, the bGeigie did. Oh, okay.
This is a designed.
Oh, they were still on the SD card.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what the design that we didn't want to have every time. Some people like to start and stop the bGeigie every time they like pulled into a 7-Eleven or stopped for lunch or something.
Yeah.
So what we did was what the bGeigie firmware does is when you start it, it looks for a file for today.
Mm-hmm.
If the file exists, it appends to it. It marks it, it labels it as start, and then appends to it. If it doesn't find the file, then it creates it. Well, because we don't have enough characters in the file name to add the year, if there's a file name for that same day of the year from a previous year, then it appends to that one.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, the data is easy to sort out. I mean, you just open the file and look, and it says, 2014, okay, and I just select all of those lines, cut them out of the file, save the file again, then open another file with a different file name, either the same thing with an appended or a name with an A on the end or with the year included, and then save that. Yeah. It's really confusing for me in a few years when my bGeigie number matches the year.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully by then we're mostly working via the iPhones or something.
Yeah, and whoever has bGeigie 2013 and 2015 or whatever, they've got to be really confused.
Yeah. What am I, like 2032 or something like that? I got a while yet. I forget what number mine is. Oh yeah, I got a pretty high number. I'm good for a couple hundred years. Yeah, I'm 2313.
2313. Years to go.
A long time ago. Yeah, it's sort of, like to your point about we're starting to do a lot more with the mobile apps and stuff like that. I don't know if it's and if nothing else, at least if you move it off the SD card, and it'd be a question of updating firmware too, which I don't know. Do users, if a user is not gonna move data off of their SD card, or at least move it into a different location on the SD card, asking them to upgrade firmware could be a tall order. Like I don't even have the parts to upgrade firmware.
Upgrade firmware a tall order.
What's that?
Why is upgrading firmware a big order?
You need a special cable, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah, you need an FTDI.
Yeah, I don't even have one of those, so I would guess probably not many people do.
What I would do is there's no, for this kind of a change, if we could get a firmware, actually there's lots of things I want to change in the firmware, and eventually we're going to have to have I have to deal with that, but I don't like disturbing it since everything's mostly working.
Mm-hmm.
But if we change the firmware, then it's not incompatible. If we make the system start, say, making a longer file name, so it has the year included in the name, then there's no longer any file collisions.
Yep.
A standard SD card holds years worth of data.
Yeah.
I've never deleted any data from my bGeigie SD card. I just move it into a folder, a year, 2014 or 2015 folder, and it's still only 10% full.
Yeah.
I've got hundreds and hundreds of files on there, so it's not a storage issue.
Yep, for sure.
It's a data management issue. So.
Yep.
Changing the firmware is not that easy. I think we have 7 or 8 bytes left on the memory.
Yeah, but no, that's not nearly enough. We have to use a different file system library that includes long file name support, and that's like 3 times the size.
Yeah. Oh, we know that.
Yeah, and even just the logistics of getting current ones updated to a new firmware is something that.
Well, it wouldn't, because if people aren't having that problem, then they wouldn't need a firmware update.
Yeah,
and if
that's
they
true.
have a problem, then visit anybody with an FTDI card, or when we were having regular firmware updates, we used to have upgrade parties.
Yeah.
Bring your thing to the office, or we had this idea. Well, we'll send around. We'll get a couple FTDIs and just it comes in a little box, and you use it, and then there's a list of the next person to send it to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Chainmail, and or people buy them themselves because it depends. And even $15 is not trivial to some people. So we had all kinds of solutions for that.
Yeah.
And the same thing goes to the Onyxes. Anybody who comes by the office, who brings one to us or sends it to us, we'll upgrade it. It's only hundreds of devices, not millions.
Yeah, true. Yeah, we can work through it.
Yeah.
Cool.
And especially if somebody starts having a problem with it. The fear I have with upgrading firmware is that there's a bunch of stuff that other people want to do that I'm not comfortable with.
Mm.
They want to change the way the conversion factor is done, or they want to change the way that everybody wants to change the way the format of the log file itself, and I'm really against that. Unless we have a really strong reason to change the format of the log file, I really want to keep compatibility, because that breaks the API. It breaks the all kinds of things.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's at least got that version flag in there, but even still, like, a lot of people would probably have to do a lot of work.
One of the problems, my earliest files I don't think are supported on the API anymore.
Might not be. Yeah.
And there's been like 5 versions of the files. A couple of them were really, really early. They only had not even a dozen files, and they're in the database somewhere, so I'm not worried about those. The second version was supported in the API when it was created. I don't know if they still are. It's we got to keep moving forward. You can't.
Sounds like a Pandora's box there if you do say we're doing an upgrade.
Well, not only that, we wrote a script. Somebody wrote a script that runs offline that would convert an early version log file to a modern version. Some of the fields were empty.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly the very first log files didn't have the CP5S data. So we had to try and derive that somehow or leave it blank.
Yeah.
And we came up with, I think Robin wrote a script that derived it, except for like the first 11 bins, the first 11 lines in the file, and I thought, just truncate those. Losing 11 lines is not, fatal.
Yeah, for sure, especially when you have 50 million measurements.
Right.
Cool. Yeah, that's a tricky problem.
Okay.
But on the plus side, we have a lot of other tricky problems.
Yeah.
So cool. And I think one of them that we touched on a couple of times here is kind of UX related. So I'll keep fishing for people who are interested in looking at kind of overall workflow of this stuff.
There's a couple ways to do that. One, we can find somebody who's a good designer and programmer, or we can find a designer and a programmer who are not the same person.
Yeah, and I think we're pretty good as far as programmers go to implement ideas. I think what we could use is someone who's actually walking through the UI and taking notes about what makes sense and what doesn't make sense.
Well, as a group, we have
working on like new versions of that, right?
As a group, we have everything we need. I understand the workflow extremely well.
Yeah.
I know it. I'm a pretty common user, or I'm not maybe do it the same way everybody does, but I've talked to enough of them and trained enough of them to kind of know what we'd like it to do. Peter's a fairly good designer of UIs and stuff, but he seldom has time to document it. He just sort of like puts out napkins that say, do this.
Yeah, and that's not the kind of thing I'm talking about, right? Like something closer to like at least a couple of like Google drawings or something like that to kind of like lay out what the ideal workflow should be, and then we can try to work towards that.
How hard would it be to have more than one?
More than one workflow? I mean, I think we can support whatever we need to, but...
Well, I was just thinking that if let's try a tentative one, but leave the current one there until the new one is better.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we can keep, I mean, we have branches and new environments will also be easier to stand up once I finish with the AWS stuff, which I'm hoping to do a good chunk of that today. So if we wanted to like experiment with new workflows and stuff like that, I mean, that's all doable. I think it's a question is like what to implement and what is also highest priority to implement such that we address like the pain points in the current workflow. So. Well,
that's a question. Prioritizing is difficult because Peter and Sean both are emphasizing the mobile apps workflow. It's like don't even worry about what's on the SD card, just use the apps.
Yeah.
And I've tried to use the app. I've used it a couple times. I tried to use it this last week and failed.
Hmm.
So I need to talk to Ed about that.
Joe, what
Again.
failed?
I couldn't get it going. You know, and part of the problem is that I was running behind. I had a reporter to pick up. You know, it didn't get going. I looked over. The BGIG's recording. Okay, it's going in the SD card. I'll deal with that later.
Yeah.
At the first rest stop. Okay, we pulled in at the first rest stop, and I handed the phone to the reporter and said, you know, can you look at this phone, open up Safecast Drive, and I'm trying to do it, you know, verbally while I'm driving. And she opened it. I said, okay, now see the button that says connect, hit that. When that failed, okay, I must have changed the Bluetooth module, or Peter changed the Bluetooth module in my device, which he frequently does when he needs one and doesn't have one. He gives somebody one, and then gives me another one later.
Yeah, I wonder if he had like a bad BLEB or something, because I know there was one firmware that got shipped that wasn't compatible, right?
Yeah, there's more than one. I'm familiar with all that. So anyway, there's no way I could talk her through, you know, the sort of debugging that whole thing. So he said, okay, I'll when I get to you know, the rest stop. When we get to the rest stop, and I spent a few minutes with it, but I couldn't see the new BLE module. So then I'd have to like open the window and go demount the BGIG, and again, the light's on, it's recording. Let's just move on.
Yeah, I see what you're getting at. That like there's something to be said for switch it on and forget about it.
Right, and by the end of the day, I had never succeeded.
Yeah.
You know, and so, but again, it was because I had my hands full with the steering wheel and behind schedule all the time and a reporter to deal with, and so. Yeah.
And you may or may not have had a working BLE device.
Right.
Maybe Joe, maybe you can get an orange one.
But
An orange BLE. So you will not get it.
You're saying that way so he knows which one is his?
Yeah.
Almost everything of mine is orange. Because for that reason, so because it does get loaned out or taken apart and back, and I just barely got a display because for a long time mine didn't have a display because we were short of displays, and so Peter took my display. Says, "We'll get you another one later." And the only reason mine has a display is because I found one in the bottom of the glass cabinet the day I was leaving, you know, for this trip, and I thought, oh, I need to have a display. I'm going to have somebody taking pictures of it. But yeah.
Gotcha.
It's just yes, you know, it's part of our DNA to be.
Yeah. Just cobble it together.
Well,
yeah, because I haven't had any trouble. I just connected it right now, and it works. But then again, I don't have people trying to borrow my BLE device. What's that?
You don't sit next to Peter very often.
I don't sit next to Peter often. That's your problem right there. I'll probably look like it. Move Joe's desk away from Peter's desk.
Well, no, you have to put my drawer and my stuff and stuff out of his reach.
Yeah, because I'll take it apart.
Well, but I had this problem in my last job. I was like, I complained to the president. Said, I can't keep track of the IT hardware. You know, routers disappear, batteries disappear, everything disappears. And he says, put a lock on the cabinet. So I put a lock on the cabinet, and then the office manager comes and says, oh, the cabinet's locked. Give me a key. Of course, the office manager is exactly the person who was, you know,
who you were trying to keep out of it.
Right, deploying stuff, and on the one hand, you want people to having stuff accessible. They need parts, they need, you know, whatever. They need a new keyboard, they need a new mouse, whatever. But the person, when they're dispensing that stuff, they never have time to document it properly. They don't update the BGIG tracker. They don't do this. It's just like, oh, somebody's, you know, heading out on a trip. They're leaving right now. Give them something. We'll sort it out later.
And then it never gets sorted out. I feel like we're back to your SD card.
Yeah, exactly. This is a human social problem, not a database or API problem.
Yeah.
But the tools, if the you know,
it can work.
It's so good.
It can work. It's working.
Yeah, if the tools are so good that it doesn't take any time to update it or track it or doesn't require tracking, then it all happens organically.
Yeah, for sure.
And apparently the iOS version of the app is better.
I like it.
I
don't have an Android, so.
Which Bluetooth module you've got and stuff, and. Yeah,
I didn't even have to configure it or anything. It just finds, it looks for a BLE device and grabs it. So.
Again, it didn't work for us in the workshop because we had like 9 of them.
Yeah, that would be a problem. Yeah, you kind of want to do it when you're off by yourself and aren't going to conflict that much
the
with other people.
99% case, the 95% case is it's a user doing it by themselves, far from any other BGIGs, and
Yeah.
It should automatically, if there's more than one or in the area, should give you an option. Do you want to use this one or that one?
Yeah.
Well, this is what the new version of the Android app does. If it only finds one, it connects to it. If it finds more than one, then it offers the picker screen.
Yeah.
But yeah, mine wasn't finding it, so it was. Like I said, I haven't troubleshot it. I need to get out my.
I see what you're getting at though with like the two. We probably should be able to support both workflows, both the mobile and the upload workflow. If nothing else, if for no other reason that there's probably a fair number of people doing recordings that don't have a BLE device attached. Like it's a great feature, but we have a lot of kits out there.
Well, not only that, we want to have the upload workflow work well, because when the app fails, or you didn't do it, or you did use it in switch on and forget mode, you want to have an easy way to, this is my backup routine. I go to the API, I log in here, give it the SD card, and up it goes. Yeah. So
we should be able to support both of those for sure. So anyway, getting back to
workflows though, because I want to start working on a different upload workflow, but then have it tested. Give it the links to a couple of people. How do you like it? What should we do differently? And wait until it's like really better than the old one before we roll it out and say this is one to use.
Yeah, we could do that. That's very, very doable.
So
we can have a special link or something. So sorry?
Who would be likely to program that?
Well, Edo and Benjamin have been doing a lot of work recently. I try to stay kind of on the ops side of things, just because there's still a ton of work that needs to get done there.
I see Benjamin about every other week. Edo, where are you?
I'm Gifu.
Yeah, he's close to me.
Okay, so because if possible, then we can work together on it to get to work something out.
That'd be good. And Benjamin's been pretty close to the UI so far as well, so he'd probably be a good. I'm volunteering him in his absence, but.
Well, I guess I'll probably see him if not today, but next Tuesday. And like I said, he comes to the office, and I think that sitting side by side with a screen in front of you is a better way to develop a UI.
Yeah, I could see that. Like when you and you're the
really slow.
You're one of the prototypical users of the thing, right? So like he can fiddle with something, hand it to you, you can play with it and say, no, that doesn't quite feel right, that kind of thing. Yeah.
More stuff happened in one day in Boston in 2013 when Haiyan and I sat next to each other for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
The whole thing, things improved more in those 2 hours than we had done over months of back and forth with email and chats.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, real time's hard to beat.
But the trick is that the people who program that stuff aren't me. They aren't the user. And so they don't necessarily know how to make those choices. But when you put the two of us together, things happen really quickly.
Yeah. You need that back and forth.
Okay, so I'll get with Benjamin, and if we have some trouble or offline, Aito, if you can also help with that'll be great.
Sure.
Cool. Anything we're getting?
We lost you.
You lost you. You froze.
Oh no. Am I still here now?
Yeah,
Cool. I'm back, I think. Since we're almost at the top of the hour, anyone have any kind of quick update things they want to throw out there, or are we pretty good to go? Eito, good?
Yep.
Cool. Lots of good ideas from Joe. Thanks for that. Nick, you good to go?
Looking forward to AWS.
Yeah, me too. That was my plan for today, is going to be trying to buckle down on that and hopefully make some progress. Cool. Nick's good. Rob, you good?
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, the very quick status, I think I mentioned it to you, Rob, but just for everyone's benefit, the very quick status with AWS is I have, so there's an infrastructure repository that has the CloudFormation templates if you want to take a look at like how far it's going. The database stuff is worked out, but we can't use the database migration service from Amazon because our production database is too old. So what I'm going to have to do, the two main things I'm going to have to do, one is stand up the Rails code itself. I was going to work on that today. And then step two is going to be to figure out how to get our current data into the new database. And that will be a bigger ball of wax than I was hoping for. So
good.
That's where we are. All right. I'd say we're good. Thanks for joining, everyone.
Okay.
All right. Talk to you soon.